Hello and welcome back. In today's video we're going to look at how to deploy Harness, an open source DevOps and CI/CD platform that you can host on your own AWS account. And we're going to look at how to provision that as fast as possible and then be able to use it as a replacement for CodeCommit. When AWS announced the deprecation of AWS CodeCommit a few weeks ago, I was a little bit shocked at first and wanted to try out other alternatives to be able to have my own Git provider running on AWS. And I came across different tools that we can use for that. And today we're going to start looking at Harness, which, funny enough, has been named Gitness before, and it was just renamed to be the Harness open source platform last week, which is also why this is the first video that I ever re-recorded instead of just publishing one of the first versions that I record for each of the videos. So it was fun to try this out, and yeah, have a look and let me know if you have feedback or questions or if you have any other experiences. As already mentioned, Harness is the open source version now of Harness, which was previously called Gitness. And if you go to the homepage, you will see that they focus a lot on making sure that everyone knows that they are open source. In fact, it's also a vendor that tries to make money, and it has always been. And now the rebranded version of Gitness, which we're looking at now, still has a few naming problems, but they offer you to capture all parts of your SDLC. So if you scroll down through the homepage, you will see that they have code management, they have different they support a lot of different languages, they have CICD, they have something that they call code spaces, they have templates for a lot of things, and it looks pretty promising, to be honest. The version of deploying this that we're going to look at today is going to be on ECS Fargate. This has some minor limitations, but we're looking at this from the perspective of I want to replace CodeCommit in the easiest and most simple way. So as I already mentioned, just last week, I think, they have open sourced this version of Harness now, which was called Gitness before. So you will still see some references to Gitness when you open this up. Looking at the quick start guide that they have over here, they give you an idea on how to run this on Docker, which is obviously something that we don't want to do. So we started off with building an infrastructure as code that will deploy Harness on an ECS service. And this is also what we're going to look at today, and it's pretty simple. So before going into the actual code of that, let me just give you a very brief walkthrough of the different components that this has. So as you can see, you have repositories in Harness, you have Git spaces, you have pipelines, you have the possibility to have registries, and obviously you have an administration. And yeah, with that, let's have a short look on how the deployment looks like. I have open sourced this deployment, and as you can see at the time of recording, this is still called Setup Gitness. I will rename that to Setup Harness right after the recording. Sorry, just found that. It is a standard CDK project. If you then look at Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, you will see that it consists of essentially the main method, which is triggered by the CDK build. It is then contains a setup Harness stack, which does nothing but deploying Harness as an ECS way. You will see over here that, well, I have a simple setup. So in your own organization, you might not be able to create yourself a VPC, then you might need to import it. In my setup, I am creating a new VPC in my Playground account that I have. I then have set up an ECS cluster that I will then make accessible, where I will put the service on it. I'm setting up some security rules in the most basic way. I'm setting up an EFS volume. This is important because you want to be able to store data even if the containers kind of restart. That's what the idea of Fargate is. I put it on a capability of Fargate, the task definition. And you will have, and then I later connect this EFS volume that we see over here, right? I will see that I connect that with the volume for the task definition, and that then also has the mount point that we're going to use for harness. Memory limit and CPU limit are pretty small here. Desired code obviously is also pretty small, and this is then essentially, this is it, right? You don't need to do much else. And if you then look at the deployment pipeline, that is the most basic deployment pipeline that you can have. So let's have a look on GitHub Actions. We have a deploy CDK application action. We have a destroy CDK application, and you will see that this does only do CDK deploy under the hood, right? So over here, obviously we do some install blah 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 blah, right? But then we essentially call npm run build, which then triggers the ECS deployment. And as you can see, this is pretty simple, and you will then get as an output the service URL, which if you call that, you can directly reach. I am now already logged into this. I should be. And if not, let me sign in. So I can sign in with a username and password. At start, I can do sign up when I'm the first user. And then this first user that is being added will also be the administrator for Harness. But if you then log into the platform, you have the possibility to create multiple projects. I have already created one, which is the simplest possible way. The repository then, the project then has repositories, artifact registries, Git spaces, secrets, and we can add user management as well, and we have settings. In the setup that we're using for ECS, Git spaces will definitely not work because this requires Docker to be up and running. If you then go into a repository, you will also see that in that repository you will have pipelines. Pipelines will also not work because pipelines are once again require Docker, and ECS Fargate doesn't support using Docker containers under the hood. But with that, we have our CodeCommit self-hosted. If you look at the costs for this, you will get up to $50 if you run this on EU Central 1, which is Frankfurt. Please calculate that for your own region that you're going to use this for. But in general, $50 for kind of completely hosted Git for you on your own environment is already pretty well. What I would love to be able to do in Harness is to be able to disable some of the features. So if you really just want to look at using this as a CodeCommit alternative, you might only want to use the Git functionality, and then it would be great to be able to disable some of the other functionalities, but I'm yet to talk to the team around this. Now, looking at how this looks on the AWS side, right? We will have now a setup harness stack. The setup harness stack has multiple services and resources that we have over here. We have, as I already mentioned, the harness VPC. We have the harness service cluster, and we have the harness service down here, and obviously the EFS file system. The harness service being the one that actually points at the container. And if we go back to the code, we will see that this container is actually the official harness container. Sorry, I lost that, which is over here, right? You can obviously also build this on your own. You will also see that I'm using a higher level CDK construct to provision that, which makes the line of the numbers of lines that I need to provision this service pretty small. Yeah, with that, I'll leave you to it, and yeah, let me know if you have any questions, any feedback, or anything that you would like to look at or learn about Harness. If you have previous experiences with Harness, or if you face challenges with the deployment, please put that down in the show notes, in the comments, so I can follow up with you and help you to fix issues that you might be getting with that. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.